The Boston Celtics currently hold a strong 2-0 lead over the Orlando Magic in the first round of the NBA playoffs. But despite the scoreboard advantage, the journey so far hasn't been without its share of drama. In Game 2, Kristaps Porzingis took a nasty shot to the forehead, and it wasn't just a little bump. We are talking about a serious hit that caused a considerable amount of bleeding. It was a rough sight, especially if you're the type who gets a little queasy seeing blood on the court. Porzingis caught an elbow late in the game, and right away, you could tell it was serious by the way the blood started pouring down his face. It was one of those moments where the whole arena gasped, and for a second you could feel a chill run through the TD Garden. But credit to the Celtics medical team, they rushed in quickly, cleaned him up as much as they could, and got him ready to at least finish his responsibilities on the floor. And it's wild because if you remember, just a few weeks ago, Kristaps had already taken another blow to the face. A hard shot right across the bridge of his nose that left him bleeding heavily. At this point, it almost feels like Porzingis has some kind of magnet for elbows. Maybe his skin is just really sensitive around the facial area, because every time he takes a hit, it turns into a bloody mess. It is kind of unbelievable. Despite the cut and the blood, Porzingis had to come back into the game to shoot his free throws because of the type of foul that was called. It was ruled a flagrant one, meaning he needed to be the one to step to the line. And man, when he returned, the energy inside the TD Garden exploded. The crowd absolutely loved it. There's something about seeing a player battle through adversity like that. Face all bloodied up and still coming back with a grin on his face. Porzingis was waving to the crowd, smiling, soaking up every bit of the playoff atmosphere. It was clear he was not only okay, but actually thriving in the moment. It reminded me of that moment a few weeks ago when he got that nasty cut on his nose. He came back to the bench with blood still drying on his face, laughing, joking with his teammates, just showing that unshakable spirit. He's really embraced the warrior mentality, and the Boston fans have fully embraced him for it. After the game, one of my favorite quotes from Porzingis was when he said, "You know, I love my WWE moments. I always enjoy engaging with the crowd." And I knew that taking another hit like that would fire them up even more, especially in the playoffs. Once they realize I'm okay, it just adds to the energy. The fans definitely saw it that way too. With blood streaked down his forehead, it looked like he was wearing a war paint, and the Garden absolutely ate it up. It was one of those raw, unforgettable playoff images. Now, Porzingis did need stitches after the game. Reports floated around saying he got about 5 stitches to close up the cut. I haven't seen an official confirmation, but judging by how he looked during the post-game press conference, he seemed fine, smiling, laughing, handling questions like nothing had happened. It's almost like he wore the injury as a badge of honor. And here's another gem from the night. Joe Mazzulla, being Joe Mazzulla, had the most Joe Mazzulla reaction ever. He said, "I love seeing him bleeding out there. It's essential that he gets back up and does his job." It was vintage Mazzulla. No sugarcoating, no dramatics, just pure gritty admiration. Joe went on to joke that Porzingis should have his own reality show, saying he doesn't even care what Porzingis says. He just wants to hear how he thinks because, in his words, KP is an absolute lunatic. A basketball lunatic, a fight lunatic, whatever you want to call it. He clearly thrives in these chaotic, intense environments. There was a moment earlier in the game when Al Horford had a little scuffle with KCP. And you could just imagine Joe on the sideline thinking, "Yeah, let's get physical. Let's go old school." There's no doubt he's in favor of bringing some of that old gritty edge back to NBA basketball. And seeing KP bleeding out there probably felt like a throwback to tougher playoff battles of the past. All things considered, Porzingis looks all good to go. The stitches, the swelling, the blood, none of it seems to be slowing him down. And that's a huge relief for Celtics fans because his presence is critical, not just for this series, but for any serious championship aspirations. Boston has. And as for Joe Mazzulla, well, he remains laser-focused, locked in, and completely unfazed by the blood and chaos, just like you would expect. The bigger question now is about Jason Tatum. What does this all mean for JT moving forward? That's something we are going to dive into real soon. But before we get there, let's just take a second to appreciate Kristaps Porzingis. I mean, if you love seeing that battle scar across his forehead, it was absolutely epic. It covered practically his entire short haircut and made him look like he had just come straight out of an action movie set, ready for more. And what a sight it was. Porzingis embracing the chaos, owning the moment, feeding off the playoff energy in a way few players can. Moments like these are what the playoffs are all about. Not just the points and the stats, but the stories, the visuals, the Warriors rising through the madness. And KP, he embodied every bit of that spirit in Game 2. It is the kind of thing that fans will remember long after the final buzzer sounds. As we move forward, updates on Jason Tatum's status become crucial. Is he going to suit up for Game 3? What's the real situation with his injury? How are the Celtics preparing, and should they risk him returning too soon? These are questions that need answers, and the ripple effects could shape the entire outcome of this series. But before we unpack all of that, just know that Boston is in a good spot. They lead the series 2-0. They have shown resilience, and their fans are riding a wave of playoff adrenaline right alongside them. Porzingis' moment was unforgettable, but in the playoffs, things move fast. Attention is already shifting to the next battle, the next challenge. And for the Celtics, making sure everyone is healthy and ready for the long grind ahead is priority number one. Because as much as we love the blood, the guts, the grit, winning is still the ultimate goal. And with the heart that KP showed, the Celtics have every reason to believe that they are on the right track. Now, shifting gears a little, we need to talk about Jason Tatum. Because while the Celtics are in a great position leading the series, the situation with JT is something fans and the organization are watching very carefully. Tatum missed Game 2 because of a right wrist injury, and it is not just any injury, it is a bone bruise. And bone bruises can be incredibly tricky. It is one of those injuries that does not have a quick fix, no magic treatment, no real shortcut. The only true remedy is rest and, honestly, pain tolerance. It becomes a question of how much discomfort a player can endure while still performing at a high level. Knowing Tatum and his mentality, you can bet he wants to be out there. This guy has played through injuries before. He is competitive to the core, and the fact that Game 2 was the first playoff game he has ever missed in his entire career says a lot. His durability and willingness to fight through pain have been remarkable up until now. But with something like a bone bruise, especially in the wrist, you're not just talking about discomfort. You are talking about the real risk of making it worse by playing through it too soon. Reports have indicated that his status for Game 3 is truly a day-by-day situation. The Celtics medical team is monitoring him closely, seeing how the wrist responds to treatment and how he feels when he attempts to get back into basketball activities. It is not impossible that he suits up for Game 3, but it might come down to a game-time decision based on how much pain he is in and how limited his movement might be. And this is where it gets complicated. On one hand, Boston is clearly the better team, even without Tatum. They managed to win Game 2 without him, and they still have enough firepower and depth to get past Orlando if needed. On the other hand, every game you play without your superstar adds an element of risk. The longer the series drags on, the more opportunities you give a scrappy young team like the Magic to believe they can pull off an upset. You also have to think about the long game. The Celtics are not just trying to get past the first round. Their goal is the championship. And for that, they are going to need a healthy, fully operational Jason Tatum, especially when the competition ramps up in the next rounds against teams like the Cleveland Cavaliers, the New York Knicks, or even the Oklahoma City Thunder. Those series are going to be wars, and you cannot walk into them with your best player at 70 or 80%. So the Celtics have a decision to make, and it is not an easy one. Do you push Tatum back into action now, hoping to close the series quickly and avoid giving Orlando any momentum? Or do you play it safe, sit him another game, and trust the rest of the roster to finish the job without him? If it were me, honestly, I would lean toward caution. Give him the extra time. Let that wrist heal as much as possible, because re-injuring it now could have devastating consequences later when the stakes are even higher. Now, could Boston win Game 3 without Tatum? Absolutely. They have been one of the best road teams in the league all season, posting a league-leading record away from home. They know how to handle the hostile environment, and players like Jaylen Brown, Derek White, and Drew Holiday have all proven they can step up when needed. Plus, with guys like Porzingis battling through blood and stitches, you know the toughness is there. They have the pieces to get it done. even if it is a little uglier or a little more grinded out and usual, but still, you have to respect Orlando. They're not going to just roll over, especially at home. In front of their fans, you can expect them to come out swinging. The Magic have a lot of young talent, and they have nothing to lose. That makes them dangerous. If the Celtics are not sharp, if they are sloppy or complacent, it is entirely possible Orlando could steal Game 3 and make this series a little more interesting than anyone in Boston would like. And if that happens, suddenly you are facing a Game 4 with pressure. Maybe still without Tatum. Maybe with a more confident Magic team. That is the risk you run. It is the balance the Celtics have to find right now. Health versus urgency. Rest versus momentum. One thing that keeps me optimistic is the Celtics' depth. This is not a top-heavy team relying solely on 2 or 3 stars to carry the load. They are deep, they are versatile, and they can beat you in a lot of different ways. If Tatum needs another night off, I fully believe Jaylen Brown will take on a bigger scoring load. I trust Derek White to make smart plays. I trust Al Horford to bring that steady veteran presence. And I absolutely trust Kristaps Porzingis, fresh stitches and all, to keep doing what he does. Stretching the floor, protecting the rim, and giving the Celtics that extra edge. Also, let's not forget about the coaching. Joe Mazzulla has been pushing all the right buttons this season. His calm demeanor, his ability to make quick adjustments, and his trust in his players have been huge reasons why Boston finished with the best record in the league. I trust that he and the medical staff will make the smart call with Tatum. It is about winning the war, not just one battle. If Boston drops Game 3, it is not the end of the world. They would still lead the series 2-1, and they would still have at least 2 more chances to close it out. But if resting Tatum now means getting him back at full strength for the rest of the playoffs, it is absolutely worth it. This team is built for a deep run, and every decision they make right now has to keep that big picture in mind. I know as fans we want to see Tatum out there. We want to see the full squad. We want to see dominance. But sometimes the smartest move is the one that requires a little patience. Protect your superstar. Let the team's depth carry the weight for now. Get through this round, whether it takes 4 games or 5 or even 6, and make sure when the real wars come, you are ready for them. So what do you think? Should Jason Tatum suit up for Game 3 if he is even close to ready? Or would you rather play it safe, give him another night off, and trust the Celtics to handle business without him? Personally, I am all about the cautious approach. Health first. Because the bigger prize, that championship banner number 18, that is what truly matters. Either way, the next few days are going to be huge. Watch Tatum's status closely. Watch how the Celtics come out in Game 3. And get ready, because this playoff run is just getting started, and if what we have seen so far is any indication, it is going to be one heck of a ride. But before we continue, please remember to subscribe to the channel and give the video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest news about the Boston Celtics. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments as well. Kevin Durant's recent comments have sent shockwaves through the NBA landscape, especially among Boston Celtics faithful. In a candid interview this week, Durant made it clear that the storied franchise in green sits at the top of his list should he ever consider a change of scenery. His message was simple but powerful. Boston has always been on my radar. I love their tradition, the fans, the history. It's something I welcome. Durant's words arrive amid a season of frustration for the Brooklyn Nets, where injuries and inconsistent play have derailed championship aspirations. As the postseason approaches, speculation about his future has reached a fever pitch. Rumors swirl daily about potential trade packages, free agency moves, and the allure of teaming up with new superstars. Yet few imagine Durant publicly expressing interest in Boston, a franchise that has long been both rival and benchmark in the Eastern Conference. The Celtics, fresh off a deep playoff run, boast a roster loaded with talent and promise. Jason Tatum's two-way brilliance, Jaylen Brown's scoring versatility, and rising young pieces like Peyton Pritchard and Grant Williams. Add in head coach Joe Mazzulla's innovative schemes, and the organization presents an irresistible destination for a scorer of Durant's caliber. With their relentless defensive identity and a culture steeped in championship pedigree, Boston could offer him the ideal environment to chase the one title that has eluded his dazzling resume. League insiders note that Brooklyn would demand a hefty return in any Durant deal, potentially reshaping multiple franchises. Yet Boston's willingness to part with assets, draft picks, promising prospects, and perhaps a veteran piece speaks to their win-now philosophy. For Durant, joining forces with Tatum and Brown could forge one of the most fearsome trios in recent memory. His unparalleled scoring efficiency, combined with Boston's unselfish approach, might finally bridge the gap between contender and champion. As fans across Massachusetts buzz with excitement, the front office quietly evaluates feasibility, salary cap, considerations, team chemistry, and long-term planning will guide their decision. Regardless of how this saga unfolds, Durant's declaration of admiration for the Celtics has ignited hope in a city starved for its next banner. Whether this message proves to be a prelude to a seismic trade or simply the musings of a superstar exploring possibilities, one thing is certain: Kevin Durant's heart may be beating green. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Boston Celtics, please subscribe to our channel and give the video a like. We always appreciate your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.